what can mere men do? Without our help, death is all of which you're capable.
My first surge of emotion in years. For as long as I can remember. And it's loneliness.
Death is a sweet slumber. All the pain of life is gently swept away.
Life. Dreams. Hope. Where do they come from? And where do they go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Howdy friendos, my name is Stuart, and welcome to the series where I take a look at pop culture characters and determine what alignment they are in Dungeons & Dragons based on the parameters we established in our Shrek video. Today we'll be looking at one of the most notorious comedians of chaos, the Fool of Fears, the Harlequin of Horrors, the Shotgun Barrel of Laughs who managed to become a living god on one occasion, the Joker!
Okay, dude, everyone knows the bit you're doing, and let me stop you there. Trust me, man, you don't want to go there. Remember how you made just a few tiny slip-ups in the Sephiroth vid and his fans wouldn't let you live it down?
Aw, come on, man. I had a good flow going. Also, who are you?
Name's Joshscorcher, aka the Fiery Joker. On my channel, I do top 10s about various gaming topics, and I also stream a lot of D&D. Also, resident Kefka fanboy of 12 years and counting. So, if you're going to be talking about my boy through the lens of D&D, I think there's literally no one else better qualified to do so than me.
Alright, I mean, I grew up with Final Fantasy VII, so it seems fair to have a second accurate opinion about Final Fantasy VI.
Accurate, despite what happened with that video?
It's like two things. Fine. Okay, in my Sephiroth video, I made a few tiny mistakes, some of them technically my fault. Let me correct. We have no less than 4 different interpretations of the Nibelheim event. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII, Before Crisis, and a one-shot anime called Last Order. If there's any lore conflict, we're just going to be using the interpretation that was produced latest and thus the most up-to-date retcon. Crisis Core came out after Last Order. I have no idea how I mixed that up, so technically Sephiroth did not choose to jump into the livestream, he accidentally fell into it. Not much has changed, but that happened. Number 2, I really ripped into Crisis Core real bad, not realizing that a lot of people seem to like it, and okay, that's fair. I could have used better words. The gameplay of Crisis Core was fine. In fact, it's above average, even for Final Fantasy standards. However, the story was awful and painful, and you can't convince me otherwise. Everything with our boy Sephi was pretty good, and Zack was a good dear bean, but lordy, that plot was utter nonsense. And 3, lots of people are claiming that Genova's influence was what caused Sephiroth's big change, and while that may have been the case, back when it was just Final Fantasy VII in the 90s, they've retconned it to give Sephiroth way more agency with his actions, and they made it seem like Sephiroth is kind of pulling the strings now. So, based on that complete mess, I bet this guy is going to be just as long and just as complicated a character to examine, right? What books do I have to read and what movies do I need to watch?
You're gonna need to play Final Fantasy VI.
Well, obviously, but what else?
That's it.
Holy shit, are you serious?
Yeah, man, this is pre-Nomura and Kojima storytelling we're talking about here. Stories actually had a clear beginning, middle, and end.
You mean there's nothing else I need to know? No dark side Jedi, no vampiric influence corrupting the soul, no false memories?
Yeah, so if you make a mistake, that makes it worse. Unlike the mama's boy over there, Kefka doesn't have any nonsense he has to deal with to understand who he is or what he's about. Final Fantasy VI doesn't give you homework or cram a bunch of convolution into the story. He isn't some surprise villain you randomly get shown at the end. No, you're introduced to Kefka at the beginning of the game, and he plagues the heroes throughout their journey, and he grows and goes through a character arc just as dramatic as theirs. At the time of Final Fantasy VI's opening, Kefka is working as a general and court mage under Emperor Gestal, leader of the tyrannical and power-hungry Gestalian Empire. He was the first person to be experimented on with Magitech, a combination of magic and technology. It granted him the ability to wield magic, although it warped his mind and is likely the root cause of his descent into madness over the events of the game. Kefka has used Terra Branford to slaughter and subjugate hundreds for the Gestalian Empire. Now, he enjoys his job. He's murder, death, kill, yes, but under someone's orders. It's murder, death, kill with a purpose. At the start of the game, he sends the brainwashed Terra to his city to get an Esper shard, and really doesn't care who she tramples to get it as long as it's covert. Admittedly, not much is known about Kefka before the events of Final Fantasy VI, so we aren't sure if he's a Jafar-like character only using Gestalt to satisfy his urge for killing, or if he was truly on the Empire's side and willing to cooperate until the floating continent incident made him lose what little sanity he had left.
So based on that, I think we can split the difference and have Kefka Palazzo start at a nice solid lawful evil with a huge skewing towards neutral. And this is it?
Pretty much. There really isn't anything special to do. I mean, it's Kefka. What you see is what you get.
You have no idea how long I've been waiting to hear that.
Some quick ground rules though, we will only be covering his events in Final Fantasy VI. Despite the B-roll footage we're showing here, we're not counting the Dissidia games, even though everyone agrees he was the best part of those.
We will also be using the classic Super Nintendo footage and the original intended translations for his dialogue interactions, with the exception of one small scene near the middle. Thank you to these channels for providing the footage.
Also, I will be voicing his dialogue.
I mean, we might as well since we have the expert, right?
And away we go!
My sweet little magic user! With the slave crown, I'll practically own you!
Kefka shows excitement at the prospect of mind controlling a powerful magic user such as Terra, as well as relishing her effectiveness as she fights an Ascension battle to the death versus 50 of his own soldiers. Neutral evil.
Phooey, Emperor Gestolt's stupid orders! Edgar, you pinhead! Why do you have to live out in the middle of nowhere? These recon jobs are the pits!
Kefka bemoans his boss's orders but follows them anyway. Lawful neutral.
There's sand on my boots!
Interestingly enough, this scene was ad-libbed due to the designer thinking the walk to the castle was too boring. And this was the scene that set the direction of Kefka's character from that point on. Really good GM improv there. But anyways, Kefka has his escorts clean sand off his boots in a desert, abusing his authority for and giggles. Chaotic neutral.
Sir, Kefka! What on earth do—
Out of my way! A girl of no importance recently escaped from us. We heard she found refuge here.
This wouldn't have anything to do with this witch everyone's been whispering about, would it?
Lies! She merely stole something of minor value. Is she here?
That's a tough one. You see, there's more girls here than grains of sand out there. I can't keep track of them all.
I'd hate to be you if we found out you're lying. I truly hope nothing happens to your precious Figaro.
Kefka barges past the guard of a city in a kingdom he's allied with, conceals his true intentions to their king, and makes very thinly veiled threats to destroy them if they don't comply. Lawful evil.
Bring me the girl, now! Then, welcome to my barbecue!
Kefka follows through on his threat and attempts to burn down the whole city of Figaro if Edgar doesn't comply. While he does gleefully refer to it as a barbecue, it's implied that Kefka only did this because he could tell that Edgar was lying to him. He was right, and wouldn't have done it in the first place and even stopped his assault if he surrendered Terra. Lawful evil.
The Emperor has ordered me to return home. I don't want any trouble here.
You loser! I'll take care of this situation in no time!
Don't be pompous, and don't forget, they are people just like you and me.
We need not spare those lands that gave rise to the returners!
Kefka defies orders of the great General Leo to stay put and not attack Doma. Apparently he outranks Kefka despite both of them being generals. Chaotic neutral.
Is the poison ready?
But General Leo said—
He's no longer here! I'm in charge now! Pour it!
some of our people are prisoners inside the castle.
Do it! Take them all out!
Kefka instructs his troops to poison the water supply. This would not only kill Doma's troops, but also civilians, including women and children. And even some of his own troops taken prisoner, and Kefka is fully aware of this. He's delayed by the hero, so he does the deed personally, all the while relishing the screams and death. This is the moment where Kefka stopped being a silly comedic fop and became a serious threat. Nat 20 scene, chaotic evil.
Oh, great! Hey, if you know what's good for you.
Kefka orders one of his troops to sacrifice themselves in order to cover his escape. Lawful evil.
Lord Kefka, there's civilians here.
Exterminate everyone!
But Narsh is neutral.
Idiots! Read my lips! Dispose of any who oppose us! March!
As Kefka is heading to exterminate Narsh, he makes it clear that he does not care what it takes to get the Esper Valagramanda. Even when one of his troops expresses concern about the civilians, Kefka says to kill them all and shouts down any dissent. Neutral evil.
Don't think you've won! I'll be back! Ah, I won't forget this!
After all of his soldiers die, he just runs away, shouting curses and shaking his fist. Chaotic neutral.
You've been completely drained of your powers! Now you're useless to me.
After draining 2 Esper's power and torturing them, Kefka casually disposes of them down a trash chute where they die 5 minutes later. Chaotic evil.
There's a lot of skeletons in this room. When Espers die, they turn into magicite, so this strongly implies Kefka's thrown things other than Espers down here to rot and die. Chaotic evil.
General Celis, the game's over. Bring me those magicite shards. She has tricked you all, Celis, that's so... you.
Kefka attempts to sow seeds of distrust amongst the party. Chaotic evil.
The Emperor was right. Let Terra fall into your hands and you'd open the gate for us.
Kefka reveals that he's been waiting for the party to open the Esper gate using Terra and tries to kill them again. Lawful evil.
How dare they put me in a place like this? I don't believe this! What a bore.
Kefka lets himself be imprisoned in a false surrender ploy so Gestalt can gain the party's trust. Lawful evil.
Emperor's orders! I'm to bring the magicite remains of these Espers to His Excellency! Behold, a magicite motherlode!
After being released, Kefka and his soldiers attack the returners, General Leo's troops, and he kills the Espers and takes their power. Neutral evil.
I don't care for the appearance of this pitiful little hamlet, so burn it!
Kefka orders his troops to burn down Thamasa when it's totally unnecessary. Chaotic evil.
You're such a goody two-shoes. Oh, a threat. You're such a violent little brute. I'll tell your leader to exterminate the traitor. Hate, hate, hate!
Kefka pretends to be Gestalt so that he can catch General Leo off guard, mocks his morals, and then violently stabs the incredibly kind and honorable Leo to death. Chaotic evil. Kefka and Gestalt raise the floating continent, separating and killing families. Neutral evil.
Celes, child, you alone are special. Why don't I give you and Kefka the task of creating progeny to populate my new Magitech empire?
Kill the others, and we'll forgive your treachery.
Gestalt suggests that Celes and Kefka should make progeny together to populate the evil empire, and Kefka doesn't seem to object to this, instead telling Celes to kill the returners to prove her loyalty. Lawful evil.
Ouch! Blood! 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 You vicious brat!
After Kefka is stabbed and sees his blood, and in my opinion confronted with his own mortality, goes absolutely ballistic. He absorbs the power of the Warring Triad and attempts to revive the Warring Triad, which would effectively destroy a large part of the world. Chaotic evil.
Run! Run! Or you'll be well done!
Kefka, after realizing the spell absorption abilities of the Warring Triad, then uses the power of the Warring Triad to blast Gestalt, giggling like a kid frying an ant. Chaotic evil.
Kefka, you mustn't! If you disturb the balance, their power will run wild!
Kefka moves the Warring Triad, throwing them off balance, and then Kefka destroys the world. Chaotic evil.
Over the next year, Kefka has built a tower from the rubble of the ruined world and rules it with a strong oppressive fear. The world has gone to and Kefka doesn't really give a shit. Any who defy him, or if the whim passes through his mind, he smites with his power Light of Judgment, an energy beam which can fry a single person or destroy an entire town. He also creates many monsters to serve him and guard his tower. A cult has arisen that worships Kefka, but this was not established by Kefka, and they worship him out of fear and despair rather than anything else. He spares them as long as they protect his treasures, apparently. Chaotic Evil Crit Multiplier.
I've tapped into the ultimate power! Observe! Such magnificent power! You're like insects to me!
Kefka toys with the returners with his power, and also says he wants to destroy everything. Chaotic evil.
Then I'll destroy those too. Why do people rebuild things they know are going to be destroyed? Why do people cling to life when they know they can't live forever? Think how meaningless each of your lives is.
Kefka philosophizes about the nature of creating things that will only be destroyed and states how meaningless everyone's lives are. Chaotic evil.
This is sickening. You sound like chapters from a self-help booklet. Prepare yourselves!
I love this line. After everyone has spoken to Kefka about the meaning of what they found in life, in true Kefka fashion, he just gags in disgust and calls them pathetic and totally calls them out on their shonen hero bull. Chaotic neutral.
I will destroy everything. I will create a monument to non-existence.
There will always be people and dreams!
No! I will hunt them down! I will destroy it all! Destroy! Destroy! Destroy!
We will not allow you to harm another living being!
But what fun is destruction if no precious lives are lost?
This is Kefka at his core. Kefka states that he will destroy everything, thereby creating a monument to non-existence. And when the returners insist that people will always rebuild, he almost gets offended and stubbornly insists again about destroying everything, also citing that destruction is only fun if precious lives are lost. Chaotic evil. Kefka's entire boss fight is laden with divine symbolism as a mockery, spitting in the face of anyone's hopes or reverence of anything sacred. Nat 20 fight, chaotic evil.
Life. Dreams. Hope. Where'd they come from? And where are they headed? These things I am going to destroy!
Kefka's final speech, calling life, dreams, and hope meaningless, and that he will destroy it. Chaotic evil.
Kefka faces his oblivion in silence. No rage, no statements, nothing. Just quiet acceptance of his own destruction. Neutral.
So, what did you think?
I mean, yeah, not bad.
Not bad? Not bad? What in the nine hells do you think you're saying?
Kefka won! He succeeded! He's one of the only villains in history to actually become a god and win! You've gone on record to say that's one of the reasons you love Berserk so much! The second half of the game is basically Berserk!
Listen, dude, I don't know what to tell you. He's definitely way better than I originally gave him credit for, but he just seems like a glorified Joker to me.
You gave the Mama's boy a gold pass!
Alright, first of all, no, I didn't. I had to stretch before I reached for that one. Sephiroth was a mess growing up, and I grew up liking him. I'm sorry, I just don't have any nostalgic attachment to Final Fantasy VI, so his impact is less to me.
No, there's more to Kefka than just being a Joker knockoff with godlike power. He doesn't have a tragic backstory that made him like this. He's not just maniacal for the sake of a joke that only he thinks is funny. He's not just a psychopathic man-child villain who happens to be good at what he does. He doesn't see his life as a dark comedy. He's not trying to spread anarchy and chaos to prove a point. He's not trying to set up the joke for a punchline. Kefka is the punchline for the joke that is the universe. Kefka utterly hates everything. You see there isn't any good in him whatsoever. Our analysis proved we've never seen him perform any good deeds, but still, there's something twisted and nasty inside him that made him that way. Here is someone that cannot comprehend or understand friendship, love, or the simple joys of living. Kefka can't find any meaning in life other than his sick desire for destruction. Even when everything that could possibly make life worth living was presented directly to him in the utter hopeless world he painstakingly designed, all he did was turn up his nose in uncomprehending disgust. There's a reason his final line is him asking a question, because he truly doesn't understand. Like many of us, Kefka is empty and looking for personal fulfillment, and the only way he thinks he can find it is through destruction, because to him, there's no other meaning in life. In a way, it's hard not to find that tragic.
I suppose I can say this. Kefka is miles better than any of the other Final Fantasy villains out there. Most of them postulate and act just all high and mighty and remain as ridiculous, all-powerful plot devices. Kefka is clearly a character first and an obstacle second. If you removed him from his world and plopped him somewhere else, you can pretty much tell exactly how he would behave and what he would set out to do. With characters like Seymour, Bartandalus, and even Sephiroth, they're just empty shells for the writers to fill with whatever they need. Kefka was the best part of Dissidia because gosh darn it, his personality was so strong, it blew all the other soggy pieces of driftwood out of the water. So yeah, I agree. Kefka's a great character. I just don't see him in the same way you do.
I'll take that victory, I guess. Anywho, thanks for watching. If you want to watch more D&D or see more video game analysis, which is really just me acting like a clown with the occasional good point, then check out my channel.
Check out our other alignment videos, and I'll see you next time.